Hey, welcome to Greatest Golfer. I am Todd Franco, Greatest Guru. Thrilled to have one of the coolest guys I know in the Valley, who shares the best name you could have in the Valley, first name being Todd. Thrilled to have him join me today. Mr. Todd Marian, welcome to Greatest Golfer.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you reaching out to me to do this. And it is a cool name, both of us with two Ds.
I think it's the only way you can spell it. Anyone else who's spelling with one D, I just feel sorry for him. Yeah, I think the name Todd peaked from like 1963 to 1969-70 were the top years. So it's not like there's a lot of us around.
My dad wanted to name me Blaze. My mom backed him, and that was it. And that's how I became Todd.
I have you here today because of all the awesome golf stories I bump into over the course of a year through Greatest Golfer. Yours might be one of the coolest stories of this year I bumped into. And what makes it even better is that it has nothing to do with anything that happened on the golf course. So I'm eager to share this story with folks. I think it's pretty cool. Your golf career is pretty awesome. And part of it includes being a member of the Ohio State University golf team. Talk about being a member of the golf team briefly.
Well, that was obviously very special. You know, you look back at, I'm 55 years old now, but you look back at 18, 19 when you get recruited. And you always think, at least I always thought this, you think it's never going to end. You always think you're always going to be there. You're always going to be on the golf team, but you can't realize how fast 4 and 5 years goes by. But for me, it was really special because there's a lot of cool people, a lot of cool guys. It's a friendship. It's a brotherhood.
So part of that era and part of the success of that team included Big Ten champions for that team. And part of being that is that you had a badass ring to walk away from school with. Can you show me that ring for a second? That's a Big Ten championship ring. That was won when?
This was won as a team, 1988, 88, and 89.
But as life happens sometimes, there's some missteps. And my greatest story of 2021 golf is the fact that at some point in your life, that ring you hold so dear to you right now, you lost it.
Yeah, I think I lost it in 04-05. It was I think it was a fundraiser for recognition for George Bellino. It was the year he retired.
Okay.
50. And so anyway, this is what I think happened. It bounced out of the cart. Years go by. I haven't seen it. I believe somebody saw it. Somebody found it out there. Your name's on it. So my name's on it. They didn't reach out to me. I think what happened is they reached out and even sent it back to Jostin, the name of the company that makes these rings. You know, the lady's name was Lil. She reached out to me in a private message on Facebook, showed me the picture of it. It was all beat up, scratched up, dirty. And then, I don't really always answer private messages on Facebook or anything, or, I'm the guy that doesn't answer a phone call because I don't recognize the number, but when I saw the ring, obviously I responded. And through that process, her and I spoke, and this isn't the actual ring because, like I said, that was beat up and dirty and the diamond chips were missing. So she built me another ring.
So when did you get the ring this summer, and what do you remember about opening it and putting it back on? Yeah,
I got it, I think in the end of spring. For me, it was important to get it back. Every time I thought about it, it kind of bothered me. I felt bad that I lost it. And to get it back was really special because I want to give it to my son someday. That's what it's all about. My son's 8 years old now. And I was showing him the ring. And I said, hey, one of these days, I'm going to give this to you. This is going to be your ring. He goes, okay. Like to him, I know as he gets older and he appreciates what it is and what it's all.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just so happy.
Talk to me about your youth sports career and how somebody in the 80s from Youngstown, Ohio gets to Ohio State University golf team.
I grew up on the north side of Youngstown. A lot of people know the Henry Stamble golf course. We called it the Muni, 9-hole golf course. A lot of good players came out of that course. But my dad introduced me to the game of golf, and he taught me how to play. And he was one of my teachers and mentors, obviously. And then the other guy who I call my second dad, and him, Rick Jones, who also played for Ohio State. He won the 1956 NCAAs at Ohio State. He took me under his wing.
Okay, so during this era, going around West Virginia, Ohio, playing for Ursuline, do you know you're the bomb at that age? Do you know that you're killing it, or are you just out there playing the sport you grew up playing with with your dad and his buddies?
When you start winning is when you start realizing, hey, I might be pretty good at this game. You know, you're playing and you may finish 10th or 7th or 2nd or whatever. But as you start winning, and then you start winning multiple times, you realize maybe this is the game I should be playing.
So when you make golf your sport, is that because you came to the realization there's no 5'9" middle linebackers? Is that the thinking?
Or basketball player. I never played football. I played 1 year of football at St. Anthony's. I went to St. Anthony's grade school. By the time I got to Ursuline, that it was really apparent that golf was my specialty. So I stuck with golf. Who
were some of your Ursuline teammates?
Oh God, I don't know. Pat Catanzaro, one of my good friends who I still stay in touch with. Todd Harkerode, just guys that were good.
Another Todd.
Another Todd, but he spelled it with one B.
Oh.
But those were the Ursuline guys. Now, some of the other guys that you would know, like John Diana and Henry Diana, they played for Howland.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your competitive circle.
Yeah, those are the guys I played against, and they're really good.
Wow.
They both get college scholarships. Both of those two. Those guys are special. And they all grew up, and we all did that 9-hole golf course on the north side of Youngstown.
So talk to me about that course. Okay, what's the long? Like it seems like 700-yard par 5 along the back corner. Is that
number 8?
Number 8. Did you ever get there in 2?
Oh yeah.
Come on, stop it.
Well, it's straight downhill. It's 600 yards straight downhill. When I grew up, they didn't even have any water. So when it's July, it's downhill.
All right. So at least you're being honest that the conditions helped you get there. And would you have gotten there in April or May, or did you need the July burn?
No way, because it's cold, it's wet, right? But
I love playing the course. I only get there once or twice a year for some kind of scramble or fundraiser, and generally we score well because we can cut some corners. But I swear, in the 12 years I've lived here, 13 years, that one or two times a summer I get up to number 8. Even though I get older and larger and dumber, I still say this is the year I'm getting there in 2, and I never come close. I think the closest I got was maybe 60 yards out, 50 yards out. But
we'll move it up a little, play the white tees and go, and and a lot of people think I'm crazy for saying this. I think it's the hardest 9-hole course in this area. I think it's a lot tighter than Mill Creek. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, except for the people who know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from, rough to rough line.
Yeah.
Mill Creek has a lot of big, beautiful old trees, but you look at their fairways are wide enough. You play the Muni, and the Muni's way tighter than Mill Creek.
So you grew up at the Muni, all of a sudden you're the bomb, and you're talking about guys going to college. You end up going to Ohio State. Talk to me about the other schools you were considering.
Yeah, so when I was probably about a junior in high school, and then in my senior year, the letters coming, Kent State, obviously, Youngstown State, Clemson, Florida State.
Just some small schools.
But there was only one place I was going anyway.
You dropped the name Ted Treba. Who else was part of the Buckeye team that we would recognize?
The guys that you'd recognize, probably Chris Smith. Smitty won the Buick Open. Obviously, a guy named Gary Nicholas.
So you're 18, 19, 20 years old. What the hell is it like when Jack shows up?
It was intimidating for me the first time I played with him. Not so much the first time I met him, because like I said, he's just one of my friend's fathers. But to play with him was obviously amazing, because he plays the game different than anybody else plays the game. I remember this one time we were playing at the Bears Club, par 3 into the wind. Most of us always, what do you do when it's in the wind? You put it in the back of your stance and you try to keep it low. He puts it on a tee. He hits the ball right in the middle of the ball on purpose. What you and I would call a blade.
Yeah.
Like he thought he scalded or bladed, but he did on purpose. So shots like that, and just the way he thought around the golf course was just
to hear that story again, I understand, so I can steal the trick. So into the wind shot, he would actually kind of blade the ball on purpose, sitting on a tee just to keep it under the wind.
Yeah, but you got about this much room to hit it. So let me know how works out for you the first time, go to the range and try it first.
You try and pursue golf after Ohio State, or do you know during that era that I am heading to professional life somewhere in the office and not professional life on the golf course?
Yeah, you come, your senior year, you think guys around here are really good, and they are. We have some really good golfers, but then you go to a school like Ohio State at that high level, and everybody's good. But at the end of the day, at the end of your career, I realized I wasn't good enough to take my career to that professional level. Jimmy Ballard was, in my opinion, and still is, the greatest teacher in the game. So he had a golf school down at Durrell Country Club. And he asked me one day, what do you want to do after you graduate? And I said, I want to come down to Durrell and I want to work for you. So after I graduated, I went down and I lived in Miami for a couple of years. I worked for Jimmy, and Jimmy worked with guys like Hal Sutton, Curtis Strange. And that was awesome. That was special for a 22-year-old dude like me.
As you're living life, how active does golf stay in your life in the 5, 10, 15, 20 years after college?
Yeah, back then we had the Penn Ohio and the Y League, and there were still really, really good golf. Now this is like 92, 93, 94. There were still really good golfers. And I got to commend you, and I should have done this earlier as we started, for you to create this greatest golfer. That's special. And every golfer like me that has grown up here who have played in the Penn Ohio and Y League, that all disappeared. And then all of a sudden, here comes the greatest golfer. You did a phenomenal job. We need something. Keep it growing, and I know you have.
And hearing about the Ohio Penn League, and hearing about the Y League, and all of it, and the Muni, and hearing the past tense talk, I thought, all right, if we get this going, and if we last 5 years, now it's year 13. It's year 13. If we last 5 years, I would just love to see it stay active and vibrant, and be wary of what caused those other events to become past tense.
I was growing up, there was a lot of good junior golfers. It all disappeared. These kids aren't playing golf like they used to. So when you keep that junior part of the greatest, I think that's really important. You're the only one really growing the game in this area, in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm definitely I try and be a student. So just a cool collection of folks who've really kept me going. I make some stupid decisions, and it's good to have this army of 16 guys saying, no, do it this way next time. So it's kind of a fun balancing act between the ambitions.
Yeah, and I'm sure year after year things change. You add things, you delete things, but you birthed it, you started it, but you got a good group of guys backing you. So I think it's very important.
One of the challenges about greatest is not having the Todd Marian play. At some point, as you progress in life, and same as you get thrown a curve one day that your beloved championship ring is no longer with you, you get thrown a curve, and this crappy thing called multiple sclerosis hits you. Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a pretty big curveball. Yeah, I could have done without the ring, and I really could have done without the diagnosis of MS, because you realize when you have your health, you have everything. So I got diagnosed on I think it was April 23rd, 2012. And to hear that diagnosis, I knew what it was because my grandmother had it. And it's a long process to get diagnosed with MS.
When you say long process, a year, 6 months, 3 months, give me a time frame when you say long process.
It probably took me about 6 months for my doctor to diagnose it.
And also, you're 44 years old, 45 years old when this happens.
Yes, I was playing a lot of racquetball, and I was tripping and falling. I was getting drop foot. And so through that process, I go to the doctor, they send me for MRIs, blah, 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 15 different MRIs. So ultimately, they find lesions on my brain and lesions on my spine. And that's a telltale sign of MS. So I get diagnosed by a doctor named Islam Zayden. Walked in his office. I remember walking in his office crying like a baby. And he looks at me, he goes, kind of smiling. He goes, "What's wrong with you?" "Oh, you're going to tell me that I have Lou Gehrig's disease and I'm going to die in 6 months." And he started laughing and he goes, "No, man." He goes, "No, you have MS." And that was actually a relief, believe it or not.
How have you learned to live with MS? What do they coach you? I mean, and let's look at the numbers on the scorecard. Numbers don't lie. What do they tell you about the numbers of life expectancy, how to live life, how to manage it, how to prolong it?
Yeah, well, you really don't die from MS. You could die maybe complications of MS.
Yeah.
But thank God for us, because like I mentioned, my grandmother had it, but that was in the 70s and 80s, and they had no medication. But now we have tons of different good medications that we could take to slow down the process of the disease, because there is no cure. So all these medications, all they do is delay the progression of it.
It's restricted you from playing golf ever, or just you could play, but it's not to a level you don't want to play at? Teach me about that.
Yeah, so I still play, but I play in maybe a handful to two handfuls of scrambles.
Sure.
In the summer for fundraisers and that sort of thing. I never play anymore. I hit some balls every once in a while, but the whole thing with MS is you still kind of look okay, but there's so many side effects from it. Like I can't see, optic neuritis. I can't see very well out of my left eye.
All
So
right.
when I'm looking out at the ball, I see two balls, or I can't tell how far away from the ground I am.
The competitive juices that drive someone to become a Division I golfer, they don't leave you. When you get diagnosed with MS, there's a huge community out there, and you decide to get active in that community, and you get active because of the encouragement of a fellow Buckeye. Talk to me about that path toward, I'm diagnosed, but I also want to be an activist.
Yeah, so Chris Spielman, who's a good friend of mine, we still stay in touch a lot. Today his wife Stephanie and I met Chris in 1985. I was 19 years old, 18 years old. We both lived in Park Hall at Ohio State.
Really?
A lot of athletes lived in Park Hall. It was all male dorm. But Spills and I became good friends. And I knew Stephanie, back in the day. And then, of course, our lives went this way. He went on to play in the NFL, Detroit Lions. But part of my job at Help Network is raising money, doing fundraisers and everything. Stephanie unfortunately passed away, and I think it was 2006, left him with 4 kids. She died of breast cancer. So now all Chris does, in addition to his Detroit Lions, he's working for the Lions today, is go around the country and speak of breast cancer research, telling his story about what happened with their lives. And so I reached out to him. He came here to do this fundraiser for us, and we did it at the Lake Club. But Chris and I were sitting at the table eating dinner, and he said, "So what are you doing with your MS?" And Chris is very short and direct. Like, he doesn't have any time for bullshit and nothing. He's short and direct. So I said, "Well, Chris, I don't know. I'm just, I'll talk about it. I'm very open about it." He said, "You need to do more than that." He said, "You need to get on Facebook, talk about it on Facebook, what it's really like, and get involved with the society." So I go, "What? Really?" I go, "Why me?" I'm like, "I'm not Chris Spielman. I don't have that name and all that stuff." So I thought about it, and I ultimately did it. And the people at the Oak Clinic where I go, they said you should do that. They just said you should do it. It's just a good thing to do. And so I do that now. And you see some of my posts on Facebook about it, and I'm open and honest about it. And it's worked out well. And with the MS Society, I'm an activist. We send letters and emails and stuff to the politicians to try to get bills passed for not only for research, but for funding. Because let me tell you something, the drug I take is $16,000 a month. It's about $180,000 a year.
Wow.
For this. Specialty drugs are outrageous. And, it's pharmaceutical companies. That's a whole other issue we can get into, but it's very expensive. And, there's 60% of people with MS are unemployed. It takes you out of the workforce, I think, at some point. 50% of people with MS suffer from depression.
Sure.
Go with it in a different way. I'm really spiritual, but I also deal with it because of my friends like Chris Spielman and what they've gone through, and other people. I always look at it as it could be worse. It's not fun, but I try to look at it that I know it could always be worse. My world shrunk. I take care of my son. I take care of myself. I try to do the best I can at my job, and that's it. You know, I hang out with my friends. I have a nice group of friends, a network of people that take care of me in the MS world, and that's it.
Well, I'm thrilled to call you a friend. I'm thrilled to share the name Todd with you. I think you hold up the name well. I appreciate that. Because Lord knows there's not enough of us. So when they see one guy named Todd, they immediately check down the list of the other Todds that they know. So I'm glad when they think of it, they think of a great guy like Todd Marian and Todd Burry and such. So
yeah, Burry and Todd Franco.
Todd, it's a good fraternity. It's a good fraternity.
Who's going to hit that number 8 at the Muni in too shortly? Yeah, Todd, it was great talking to you. I always love bumping into you and just BSing about whatever we're going to BS about. But today was special. I appreciate you reaching out to me for this. I'm always willing to share the story of the MS, and this was great. I appreciate it. And keep up the good work with that greatest golfer, because I'm telling you, man, they need it. We need it in this golf community here. And I know you're growing it. And that's a special thing. I wish I would have been able to play in it, because it was fun playing back in those days. And I miss the thing I miss most about golf is the competition.
Yeah.
And greatest golfer gives that.